Hello, everyone. My name is Elle, and this is David, and we're going to be talking about our week with doing 90 Days with Jesus here at the Joining in Light Devotional Center. And we are doing week 7. We did week 7. And it's been about choice and the flip. And it's been about the story and a lot about emotions. And I took right away to the beginning when we looked at chapter 12. And it's the chapter is the desire for a story. And it talks about the story, the addiction we have to the story in the play of consciousness. It talks about the itch we have to take ourselves away from the light and get into the story of what's happening in the dream. And so I decided right away I was going to try to go a week without doing as much storytelling as I usually do. I find myself doing that in conversations with people, and the key is really asking Jesus if everything that I want to say, that I should say actually, and that includes stories. So I just kind of kept noticing throughout the week if I was like tempted to, maybe I was hearing a story from someone and then I wanted to add my story to their story because I was having all these thoughts and stapling them together and making a story. So it once in a while I did remember that, let's ask Jesus if this is a good story to share, if it needs sharing, if it's helpful for the healing of the mind. And one thing I noticed is that at the Joining in Light Center, we're with mighty companions who, like when I came, I never met, well, I met David before, but most of the people here were brand new to me. And we haven't shared a ton of details about our story or our life because we're, as soon as I got here, we're in function where we have assignments and we keep to our purpose. And so there's less opportunity for stories. And I even noticed that when I would talk to Jesus, I would begin with a story of telling him, what my upset right now is, or what I think's happening, or why is this happening. So I kind of let that go as well. Just go right into Jesus. I just need help right now. How can I see this differently without, it just seems so ludicrous to be describing to Jesus what I was going through because he knows. The chapter also talked about emotions and how that plays out. And I had the experience of getting very involved in an emotion that I was having one day, a few days ago. And it was, I was feeling emotional about this video that I'm making right now would be coming up in a few days. And I have a tendency to be concerned about it and worried about it. And as the day gets closer, I feel uneasy about it, and a lot of thoughts come in about it. And I sensed that what was happening one morning was that I was afraid. I was fearful. And at that point, I realized that I need to go and join with a mighty about it and look at this and see what's the desire underneath. So a mighty companion and I sat together, and what I discovered was that with situations like this where I'm reluctant, or when I'm reluctant to be videoed, I actually have desires about being abandoned. And then I saw things about being abandoned by my brothers, being abandoned by God, and me abandoning God. And it was new. I hadn't seen that. So Jesus was taking me deeper to show me more about this seeming story or problem that I have had all my life. And the release, I released a lot of that desire about feeling abandoned. And we had several questionnaires this week. So I thought I might read. So these questionnaires are questions where we're asking Jesus to help us with answering them, and we write what Jesus says to us down. This first questionnaire was about heaven and hell, because we looked very closely at what we think our thoughts are about what is heaven and what is hell. And so in the summary of that questionnaire, I summarized what Jesus said to me. It was good to look at, So I said through Jesus, it was good to look at heaven and hell and the flip with Jesus. He told me I can relax about the exact definition of heaven, and that I know hell well enough from my dream and looking at the golem. Jesus said, heaven's not a place to get to. It's related to the light, where in truth you can see who you are. And that hell doesn't exist except in the dream, and yet you feel like you're in it most of the time. I can take you out and to supreme happiness, Jesus told me. Not all of this requires understanding on my part. Jesus said, better to keep doing the 7 things on the list on the prior page and to look at all the things you're protecting. So see your light and see that you have been very confused, especially about how to leave the dream behind, thinking you could receive salvation or heaven in painful ways. And the question right before that, where Jesus did show me the 7 ways, is what does it take to reverse the idea that heaven is hell and hell is heaven? What does Jesus tell you? So he gave me a list of things. He said, so these are the things that would help me reverse getting heaven and hell flipped. First was following my guidance, which involves joining with me on everything. Ceasing to deny the light and the truth of who you are. Opening your subconscious mind completely to me to look at desires. The honesty of God. Admit where you want nothing to do with heaven. Willingness, determination, conviction, trust, and faith. A vigilant approach to mind training. Joining with mighties. And I had to add this one after David told me what Jesus shared with him about it was miracles, full on miracles. So that was a one questionnaire. I don't know how much time I've taken so far. Okay, can you tell me?
It just sounds wonderful.
Okay, I'm going to read some more of what Jesus told me. So we were to ask Jesus to show us what choice is. So he said, in the light, who you truly are, there is no choice. All is one. In the play of consciousness, you seemingly pick to do things based on desires that are below your awareness. You think you are making rational decisions or choices, and yet you don't know what's in your best interest. The ego has a field day, either watching you agonize in analysis paralysis or shoot yourself in the foot by deciding on something based on wrong-mindedness and often in haste. You and your brothers feel that what happens to you and your bodies is because you are a victim of circumstances, when in fact, what you see playing out is based on choices that you make. The choice I would have you look at is related to your function and your purpose, to get out of this dream and to find supreme happiness. The choice there is to ask me to help you to follow my guidance and speak what I tell you 100%. I can take you home, back to the light and supreme happiness. So it was, it was a great week with Jesus and David and the 90-day program. Thank you.
Thank you, Elle. I'm David, and this week was a turnaround, I think, from the last couple of weeks that I spent in pretty strong resistance to the ego. It started out, we started looking at the flip of heaven and hell. And, you know, my version of heaven is the world that I think I live in, and all the choices I have and the control and the freedom. And one of the questions in the questionnaire was why, Jesus asked, why don't you want to ask me about what heaven and hell is? And when I wrote it down, he said, David, you think you have everything, but in reality, the world you have is nothing. And you're scared that you might have to give up nothing in exchange for everything. So that was an eye-opener. Then we got into the questionnaire of choices, and again, my belief is that choices are everywhere in this world. And in one of the morning sessions this week, the daily lessons that Kay talks in, she said that choice is death. And in talking with Jesus about it, he says, the reality is you made the choice for more than one, when really all there ever is just oneness. And so in this dream, you're experiencing pain and misery and hell and suffering and death. And along with it, you have all of the choices for pleasure that you think are wonderful. And no matter how much you experience or you believe there is to experience, and of course, it keeps me coming back for more because I think it's so great. But at the same time, the ego has it set up in that no matter what I do or how much I do, the game is seek and do not find, which is why there's always a need for more. It's never ending. It's never ending and it never works. So in talking about resistance earlier, I was praying to Jesus this week and just really just being honest and saying, you know what, Jesus, I know I don't like talking with you. And I don't want anything to do with guidance. I admit that, but I'm still going to keep going with it anyways. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do or how to do it or where to go or what to say or what to think. I'm lost and I need you. I need help in figuring this out. And that day, he had me pick up Jesus, a New Covenant, the book. And he took me to chapter 2, which is infinite being. And the problem that I shared with him was that I just feel like, the ego is dominating me. Like it's becoming it's going from suspicious to vicious. And I don't know what to do. So I read through the book, through the chapter. I read through it 5 times. It's a short chapter, but powerful. And he made it clear that I am infinite being, that I am not powerless to thought, and I can drop it anytime I want. And he said, until you accept that you have the power to miscreate a world, then you can never be free from it. And he says, once you see that, and you see that you did create it through your desire for the experience, then you'll have the power to let it go, dispel it. And it just hit home like a switch was flipped for me. I just realized that I do have the power. And I guess I didn't want to see that. Maybe I was afraid of it, but so from then on, I've been able to not only go into meditations much deeper, but I feel like for the first time, and I've been asking Jesus to take me to the light and show me the light, and how do I find the light? And the next morning, I felt like I experienced it because I was able to let everything go. So that was very powerful. And yesterday we watched the movie Vendetta, which was filled with terrorism of my mind and attack thoughts. But the most powerful part of the movie for me was where V took Evie through a devastating experience over the course of a couple of weeks to test her willingness to let go of fear. And she finally let go of the fear and said she wasn't afraid to die. And that's when the test was over. And she was told, now that you've let go of all your fear, you're free to go. And it was a really powerful symbol and metaphor of this world, of the fear of anything in the world, that it need not be, and it's not really real, and it's just a curtain. It's a mist. It's I think Jesus tells me it's mind fog, and the light will dissolve it. And so yeah, that's it. It's a beautiful week. There's, and I did want to also share that I picked something up from everybody at different times, and Mary shared in one of her sessions how she is guided by Jesus to just let everything go to him, like anything that has to be done, or thoughts or concerns or anything, just give it to him in full. And the last few weeks, I've just felt like the assignments that I've been on here, I've had to do it myself and figure it out and get it done. And that really rang true for me. And the next day I was on kitchen duty, and it was like I just told Jesus ahead of time, you know what? I'm not going to try and figure this out. I need you to do that for me. And everything went extremely smooth, and there wasn't nearly the amount of seeming pressure to get done on time. So I just really appreciated that. And just constant reminders. He said to me this morning, I'm like, what do you want me to do? And he said, just focus your concentration on staying with me as much as you can all the time. And I'll help you. I'll take care of everything for you. I'll work with you. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you, Jesus. And thank you to Joining in Light, Kay and my mighties, and